too often the injuries that occur to archers are in the drawing shoulder, because all of that load ends up in that shoulder, that weak shoulder joint, and not in their back. So this is a key piece as an instructor, or as an archer, or as a coach, to understand that ultimately throughout that draw cycle, it needs to transfer from arm to back into that holding position. Make sure that that elbow ends up kind of behind the grip of the bow, and that's your observation point. So this aim step comes so far down the road in what you would consider a sport that has an aiming component to it. And the reality is that it's necessary up to get to this point. Everything is mechanical and methodical and deliberate. The steps of getting your hand in the string, the steps of getting the prosthetic stable in the grip, all of the steps to get to this point are very mechanical and, as I said, very deliberate. And then ultimately, it's a relinquish of all of those steps that were deliberate and known to the point of aim. And the aim then it reverts to an unconscious effort and allows the hand and eye coordination to line stuff up and make the shot happen. Throw a dart. You'll never aim throwing a dart. The mechanics of throwing a dart is just look at where you want the dart to go, and your hand and your eye will make that happen. A basketball, bang, bang, bang. The three dribbles on the foul line, and then from that point, you're looking at the basket, and you're going to hit either the front of the rim, or it's going to go swish, or you're going to bounce off the backboard. And depending upon how your eye and your hand coordinate one another. So the aiming process falls way down the list of the mechanics of getting the bow in position, and then it becomes, to some degree, pretty mindless. And look where you want the arrow to strike and allow that to happen. So here's the finish. You have to look kind of close, but above the last, in between the last two targets in this frame, there's a little orange dot. That's the arrow in flight. And that arrow is long gone. The archer can no longer influence it. And yet, you can see that there's a follow-through to it, that the arm is yet in position, that the head is yet in position, that everything is as best they can staying in that follow-through position, so that they don't have the opportunity to influence where that arrow is going to go. And the challenge becomes is that the action of shooting a bow, whether it's with a release aid or whether it's with fingers or whether it's a mouth tab, is too often a conscious effort, so that the brain has told either the fingers or the mouth or the release to actuate, and that's a system-wide command. Pat your head, rub your stomach. So when that command happens, that hand that's holding the mass weight of that bow, it heard, and it said, oh, is she going to shoot one arrow today or 1,000? Well, I better conserve, and so I'm going to try to anticipate as best I can, getting rid of that mass weight just before it starts to hurt. And so it's just a consequence of learning how and being a consistent archer, that there's a disassociation. Playing a guitar, I can't play guitar for nothing, but when you watch somebody play a guitar, their left hand it's all up on the neck and the frets, it's doing something entirely different than the one that's strumming the strings. And so the tune is much more agreeable if the two hands have that sort of disassociation. And that's where the release and follow-through component come into making sure that that archer ultimately ends up posing like an archer. They're trying to be the portrait of the archer in this particular photograph.
Today we're going to discuss another alternative method to only using one arm to shoot a bow. Shooting with a shoulder strap release, a couple of things you're going to need. One is a wrist strap release. I want to find a release that has a pretty prominent trigger sticking out there. If it was a shorter trigger, then you're going to have a hard time getting your chin on it. If you get something with a little bit of length to it, it'll be a whole lot easier to make the release happen when you want it to. We have a wrist strap release. We'll take our belt. You're going to want it, run it through your wrist strap. Bring it out. And we're going to have it go over one side. Then I want to kind of cross it so I can make a figure 8. So go back behind the head. And now I've got a pretty firm set position that this release is going to stay. If we have our belt too tight, we're not going to have any movement in our shoulders. So it's going to be harder to get in position when we're trying to knock the arrow with the release on the D-loop and coming extending out full draw. If it's too loose, once we get all sticked up, this release will actually come way out. Now let's put it into play. First thing we want to do is make sure we knock an arrow. So we have our arrow placed on our string. I'll take my release, attach it to the D-loop, turn and address the target, and extend the full draw. Now I'm in pretty much a set position. I'm going to find my trigger on my chin and use my chin to fire the release. Just like that.
Just off the shelf products. A luggage strap that helps support it, and just a wrist strap type of releasing. To determine and ask questions of the archer or the athlete, or do a self-evaluation of, did the bow seem to fit me? Did I perform to my expectations? Do I need help? Do I need additional support? Any of those things, as Mary said, the coach locator, there are going to be a list of coaches nationwide that can provide some assistance. And the steps that we just ran through are no different than those that are considered normal archers. There are none. They're the same steps to be considered by anybody that has a challenge. And don't be afraid to ask.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
are we limited to what kind of release we use?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Check one out.
I think we're actually ready for a Q&A. Yes?
We still have a couple slides left for Leah, yeah?
Oh, okay. All right.
But then we will go straight into Q&A.
Excellent.
Apologies. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
That's all right.
Let me cue up Leah here.
For the most part, my shooting process is the same as it is for anybody else. It's pretty standard. The muscle spasms make it necessary to have somebody to load my arrows, but I set up, anchor, release, and shoot the bow just like anybody else. I first tried archery at 48 years old. I wish people would have told me that it's not all about brute strength and balance, that a lot of archery is right here. It's mental. You have to believe that you got this, because you do, because archery is very much a mental game. Practice, or even going to tournaments, can be a lesson in frustration. Just from getting your equipment in your car, from your car to whatever parking lot you need to be in, and then from the parking lot to where you're going to shoot, and that it can be very frustrating. So what I've learned is to ask for help. And when you're in a chair, that's the last thing you want to do. You want to be seen as independent and strong, and I got this. And sometimes I do got this, but sometimes I don't, and sometimes I need help. And even having the archer's agent, I actually have somebody that puts the arrow on my bow for me because I'm not fast enough to shoot it. And that was crushing. It was like, I don't want to do it then. But you know what? It's about other kids, other people watching. Hey, that lady, she uses somebody that loads her arrows for her. I can do that. If somebody loads my arrows for me, I can do that. And to have that responsibility, just show up, the power of presence, just be there and do what you do. So I encourage you, if you're even thinking about archery, to go ahead and try it. There are so many opportunities out there to be involved in the sport. Don't let the fact that you're in a wheelchair or have an impairment stop you, because I can guarantee you the archery community in the USA is incredibly inclusive. So if you have questions, we have resources out there, we have phone numbers, we have a website. Give us a call. Let us know what we can do to help you get started in the best sport in the world.
Okay, Leah, you're up. Turn on your volume.
Be careful be careful what you ask for.
There you go, Leah.
I tend to be pretty loud. One of the things that drew me to archery once I got used to it was that it is very much an individual sport, that you are really competing against yourself, not the person that's across from you, because it's a mental sport. It's where you go in your head. It doesn't matter how they shoot. And for me, that was what I wanted. But yet, archery is a very much also a team sport. And I think USA Archery, MJ and I and Mary were all on a committee to make USA Archery more inclusive. And it is amazing the things that we see. So at the 2018 Outdoor Nationals, the last, quarterfinals or whatever, 4 in the men's division. So there's, 12 people. 4 of them were para-archers. And it is not uncommon to go to an archery tournament where a para is shooting among able-bodied archers, and they put it. And for me, it was like, wow, how does that keep happening? And it's because of the support of able-bodied archers and USA Archery. There's really no limits to what your challenges are. I mean, we have Matt on the team who has no arms, and we have a new young lady on the team, and her name is Emma Rose, and she doesn't have any legs. And then we have Jeff Avery, who is missing an upper limb and a lower limb. We also have the visually impaired archers who can't see, and the USA visually impaired and blind archers are like number 1, 2, and 3 in the world. And that's just crazy to me, because people say, well, I can't shoot a bow because, really, there is no because. Because if anybody has modified how to teach a bow or how to shoot a bow, that would be me. So the really cool thing I think about archery, para-archery, is how involved para-archers, I don't even want to say on the team, but involved in para-archery, probably 3/4 of us are qualified as coaches, as USA Archery coaches. And here's the really crazy thing. 3 of us coach collegiate teams that are all able-bodied, and all 3 of us are in wheelchairs. I mean, how crazy is that? So this last year, the All-American Championship, I had 4 archers in the, whatever, the National American, whatever. I had 4 of them on there, and they are coached by a quad in a wheelchair. So the only thing different, I think there is no difference really between a para-archery and another archery, is how you go about it in your brain. Because I think we see it as, one sport, one team, one nation, and we're there for each other. The only thing that I had to laugh, we had MJ come to the UWL practice, and when I start new archers, I start them on a recurve. So we started our practice session, And all my recurvers promptly sat down and strung their bows. And they said, you do know you can string those standing up, right? You could tell they had a pair of coach. That's how they knew to do it. And I just think it's so inclusive, and we're so supportive of new archers or new coaches that want help. I mean, we're just a phone call away. So if you have any questions to ask me, throw them out there. I saw one and it went away. It went away. Did anybody see that? The question?
We can do Q&A right at the end, Leah.
Okay. Well, we also have this grant resources because the veterans who choose to participate in para archery, there's definitely grants there. But sometimes kids or people that have congenital issues, finding funding can be an issue. So we've put together actually a really, really nice grant resources for places that you can go where they can either help you with equipment or pay for coaching or pay for travel. We've doubled up. You know, I've had somebody room with me in a hotel room that I paid for that maybe wouldn't have come to the tournament if they had to pay for a hotel room. So there's grant resources there. We're working more and more as we become more popular. I think archery has become just blown out of the water worldwide. It's amazing the number of people that shoot archery. It's really cool. It's cool to be a part of that and the growth of that. Okay, Tristan, can you read that? It went away. I can't read those with chat.
Yeah, I got it. I'm here to help, Leah. So we've got, Tristan wants to know, can you, what opportunities are available for classification? I was supposed to be classified at the WRE, but that was canceled.
Yes, Mary.
Yeah, I can answer that. So we still have an opportunity yet this year. There'll be a classification event at our National Target Championships, which is in August in Virginia. And we are still accepting classification applications through June 15th. So if you want to take advantage of that opportunity, you can either contact myself or highperformance@usarchery.org.
And then Tristan also wants to know, can you please send me the place for the grant equipment and resources? Can they access that on USA Archery's website?
Yes, and if you're willing, we can share this presentation that includes links to the resources for any participant that would like to access that.
Great. My son is 10 years old. He uses a one-arm drive wheelchair. Could he possibly participate?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. We're talking mouth tab, shoulder tab release. There's lots of ways that we could get. That's easy. We can do that.
And on that point, there, as far as whether it's a mouth tab or whether it's a shoulder prosthetic type of a release tool, there are prosthetists in study and institutions that are trying to teach those in an adaptive realm, sport realm, that are looking for opportunities. They're looking for projects that fulfill grant, that fulfill their teaching methodology. So don't be afraid to either contact Mary or Leah or myself, and we can help direct you to rehabilitation centers or facilities that are looking to help out.
What is the best way to train for archery without equipment?
String bow?
Yeah, string bow.
So-
The string bow is nothing more than a cord that is that fulfills the same as a bow string and hooks on either the fingers or to a release aid and set up for their specific draw length.
I think that's in the manual, isn't it? How to make a string bow?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's in there.
Excellent. And then yes, just more questions about getting a copy of the presentation. So when Mary sends that to me, I will send it out to all of you. What other questions, guys?
I just wanted to say that I forgot part of this, but there are more opportunities now than there was 5 years ago when I started for para kids or just para in general to get started. I mean, we've started to see kids in the Scholastic 3D shooting. We've seen kids in archeries in the NASP, National Archery School, whatever, National Archery in the Schools program, and JOAD clubs. And the fact that we now have para classifications in the collegiate, that's huge. That is absolutely huge, and I'm so excited about it. Anybody else?
If not, or if you want to ask your question separately, if you want to send them to UCO Endeavor at uco.edu or to my email, Cassidy Walker, I'm the one who's been emailing you and says something. Oh, we've got another one. Bill wants to know what schools and when will colleges be allowing scholarships for archery?
Yeah, great question. So we have a list of colleges and universities involved in our program on our website at www.usarchery.org. And again, you can search by zip code or by state to get a list of those schools. There's over 100 schools, and as I mentioned earlier, around 21 that are varsity programs. Those would be the ones that would have the most scholarship opportunities, which are already provided. And it will denote that on the club locator, whether or not they are in a varsity or a club program. So you can definitely connect with it that way.
Okay, and then Jessica wants to know, what type of compound bow would you recommend someone to buy as a beginner?
I started with a Diamond Infinity, which is, I don't even know what bow manufacturer, but its price point is about $300 fully set up.
That's a good entry level compound bow because of its adjustability in draw length and very light mass. The Diamond is a Bowtech, but other manufacturers also have those same sort of equipment offers.
Matthews has one too. I can't think of it. What is the Matthews? Menace, maybe?
Menace, that's correct, yes.
Where you don't need a bow press and you don't need a degree in physics to change the draw length or the draw weight.
Awesome. Okay. What are the best exercises for archery? I assume you mean like for building strength versus practicing the actual sport.
Shoulders.
Yep. Shoulders, cardio, just a full body, range of motion. A lot has to do with the flexibility and range of motion of being able to manipulate the bow in all of its aspects and being able to transfer load or draw it comfortably and without injury.
I think one of the things that we've learned, I am extremely spastic, very spastic. So I'm literally strapped from my chest all the way down to my feet to shoot the bow. But if it's too light, I can't shoot it because I don't have enough feedback neurologically to my brain to get it to go off. So sometimes if they're all wobbling all over, try adding a little bit. It's called load. Add some load to it so you have something to press against to get those neural waves to where you want them. That was something, it took us a while to figure that out.
Crystal commented, and we've seen many of our, our archers commenting that they use resistance bands to build the strength in their backs and shoulders. Would you all recommend that?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
To expand upon what Leah was saying is that sometimes when you have somebody that has a neurological or the spasticity, is figuring out a way for that load to happen with universal draw, whether it's a Genesis bow or whether it's a recurve bow. And an ingenious way is to tie a cord around the grip, tie a cord around the string, and it provides a stop for recurve bows so that they draw to that string and then they have that load to be able to shoot.
What else? What else? Any other questions? And again, as we said before, if you have any that you want to ask more specifically about your shooting or anything like that, you can direct those to me. I'm the one who's been sending you all the emails for the past several weeks. I'm Cassidy Walker, or at UCO Endeavor at uco.edu, and I will forward those on to Mary and MJ and Leah, and we'll get you set up with some answers. So if there is nothing else, thank you all so much for being here. And oh, we've got one more. Do you have a certain breathing technique?
Yes, breathing is a good idea.
I love it. Okay, just general rules for life. Just make sure you breathe.
I have to remind archers often in competition to breathe.
I could see that. The holding the breath when you're, okay, I could see that. All right. Well, if there is nothing else, then we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this first clinic. I think we started off on a really high note with this archery clinic. And thank you, Mary and MJ and Leah, for taking the time out to talk to our athletes today and to help us out. You all have been incredible, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And we will see all of you participants later for more clinics. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.